Can I come in and play? Nobody wants to play with me out here.
More breaking news, this time about the January 6th rioters. The Supreme Court has just ruled. Let's get to Shannon Bream. What did they say?
So what they have said is that one of the statutes the Justice Department used to charge hundreds of different January 6th defendants is no good. And that includes President Donald Trump, because he has actually had two of these counts against him in the Jack Smith D.C. case against him, that federal criminal case that has been on hold here. So what essentially they say is this statute, which was passed in the wake of Enron, they say it doesn't fit here. He says, given that the subsection was enacted to address the Enron disaster, not some other far-flung set of dangers like what happened just right over here at the Capitol, it is unlikely that Congress responded with such an unfocused and grossly incommensurate patch in English that essentially means that all of these people who were charged under this particular obstruction statute for January 6th, that is no good. The dissent, this is a very interesting vote makeup, because the dissent is actually written by Justice Barrett, and she is joined by Justices Sotomayor and Kagan. She says that Congress did intend for this kind of conduct to be brought under this particular obstruction charge. She thinks the majority got it wrong. But what it means is a big headache for the DOJ and good news for hundreds of January 6th defendants charged under this statute, again, including President Trump.
It's a big ruling, too.
Yeah.
I mean, these are big cases. Let's bring back Andy McCarthy, Jonathan Turley. Andy, this is, what does it mean? Big picture for these January 6th
and how many people
defendants.
And how many people was this statute? Did it apply to all these cases?
Well, it applied to all of them, or many of them, Dana, in the sense that it was charged in them. It doesn't mean that everybody who pled guilty, for example, which happened massively in that connection, doesn't mean that all those people have preserved their right to complain about that on appeal. So how many of them it will actually benefit is questionable. But the importance here is that they have found that this is an evidence impairment statute. So in other words, for this kind of obstruction to apply, you actually have to corrupt the documentary evidence that's being presented in a proceeding. The way the Justice Department tried to apply it was that if you engage in conduct that prevents the proceeding from happening in the first place, that it was applicable. The court seems to me emphatically to be saying that that's not the case, at least the majority decision. And I think the importance with respect to President Trump is, number one, does Jack Smith have to supersede his indictment? Because the most important two counts of that indictment are this obstruction statute. I think what he would come back and say is that his obstruction theory in the case includes what they call the fake electors scheme, where they actually provided certificates to the Congress for purposes of, according to the prosecutors, undermining the proceeding at which President Biden's victory was certified. So it'll be interesting to see what Jack Smith has to do with his case, and does he have to go back to the grand jury and supersede it? If he has to do that, hard to imagine that this case could get to trial.
Jonathan, do any of the rioters who are in jail today get released because of this?
They very well could be. There's two aspects to this. Some of them were convicted of what is now established to be improper charges. I mean, that hundreds of people were the subject of improper charges by the Justice Department. That includes President Trump, who has not been tried yet. They were also sentenced based on this conviction, as well as a mix of other things. So those sentencing decisions now have to be reevaluated. I've said all along that I was surprised by how heavy the Department of Justice went on obstruction. I analogized it to someone going to Vegas and playing roulette, but only betting red. Well, basically, the court just said, red's not a bet. So we've got to go back and look at all of these cases, not just for those who now have these convictions knocked out, but how they impact sentencing.
Well, I'm pretty surprised. I guess if this crowd outside the Supreme Court stormed the Supreme Court to try to change that ruling, I guess they couldn't be charged with obstruction. Don't know. Supreme Court precedent. I don't get it. in my mind, anyone who attacked the Capitol on January 6th with the intention of overturning the election were attacking literally the Constitution. I'm curious what everyone else thinks about that. And there's only 9 in the audience. They're probably actually tuned into the television sets if they're curious about this. I don't know. Get her done. Good morning, Nerdy. Good morning, Master. Good morning, Biscuits. This might be the small yes before the big no. I don't know. They were talking a little about the fake elector scheme. Those were known to not be constitutionally derived. The states shall choose their electors. Each of the states involved chose their electors. The legislator signed off on it. The governor signed off on it, and they sent them to Washington. Those other ones were fake, and it was known to be fake. There's no reason to count them or not count them. But whether they count them or not count them, there's no reason to attack the Capitol with the intention of getting your count done. I think we've got a very politically motivated Supreme Court. Anyone have any opinions they'd like to come up on panel and share, or not? That's okay. I'll give the. Actually, I'll send the invite one more time. And of course, if you want to talk about something else, that's fine too. This might be the small yes before the big no. I'm not sure what that means. I would, the current, yeah, I would agree. They did rule not too long ago that Mississippi has to redistrict their gerrymandered districting, and Mississippi has not complied, and we're getting down to the wire on the election. So I would say it's a feckless Supreme Court. Will the Department of Justice comply and release the attackers of the Constitution? I don't know. We definitely got some problems. And it looks like nobody's coming up. Okay, it is a dangerous topic. I get it. Heads will explode. So I'm going to, I guess I'll sign off with the 2-minute countdown to signing off.
Hey guys, can I come in and play? Nobody wants to play with me out here.